Will you be there when the stars align?
Before we begin, thank you very much to I'm Not Titanium Megatron in a Trench Coat for joining the Patreon campaign. Well, in that case, good sir, madam, or otherwise, please come right on in. You certainly don't look like the worst toy ever in a tan trench coat. You know what? I'm not going to question it. I'm just not going to question it. Welcome to the Patreon. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for supporting the channel. It is much appreciated. A little bit of business before we begin. 2 weeks have passed on my Prime Bumblebee giveaway. I have notified a winner. Their name is Dave. If you are a Dave and you entered the contest, please check your inbox because you will have something coming from me soon. Thank you to everyone who did participate. Please keep an eye out. You never know when I'll be in the mood to just randomly ship off some nice toy to people. So, it's worth noting. I think that's worth hitting the subscribe button. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, I think that's worth hitting the subscribe button before. Because you wouldn't want to be late to a contest, That's a mint in box Prime Bumblebee that you might have missed out on because you aren't following me. Nevertheless, let us begin with today's Toy Store life. Because the toy store is chaotic again. What you are looking at right now is a shot from one of my local Targets, and as you can see, it looks like a war zone happened. So, welcome back to 2021, where literally anything with a Pokemon TCG logo was annihilated at retail. If you weren't there, oh, it was messy. Oh, it was messy. You had so much fervor for Pokemon cards, all built up by hype beast YouTubers who needed something to do while stuck inside during the pandemic and started opening up Pokemon cards, making people aware that there can be very valuable things inside of simple packs of playing cards. And now all of a sudden everybody wanted in on the craze, everyone wanted the chase, everyone wanted to get rich off of just a $4 or $5 pack of cards. It's a whole lot of nonsense is what it was. Granted, there's a lot of valuable cards in the game, but, this is the kind of thing with the huge demands like this. Once they start printing enough to sate the demand, the cards aren't worth anything anymore. But you can't explain that to Joe Schmo public. They just know, ooh, valuable, everyone wants. And now, we're right back to it. We went through a lull for a few years, and now we are right back into it. Every place around town that stocks Pokemon is completely sold out, except for me. We backstock pretty good, so we're still sitting pretty at the moment. But yeah, anything in a normal shelf is annihilated. This is like back in the days, like in the horror days of 2020, 2021. When Pokemon took off the first time, you had reports of people getting into fistfights. There was people who were hiding trackers on the distributor trucks. Someone pulled a gun at a Target. Yeah, chaotic times. So on the one side, the businessman is excited for me to, excited for us to be back into it. And then you have the part of me that doesn't want to get shot over a Pikachu. So, for those who aren't keeping track, now this is going to wheel around to a really important topic as far as like what makes things valuable. And this is a really, really good example of it, but we got to set the tone. I'm going to set the table for you because a lot of people who follow me are Transformer people. I have to say that for the people who are tuning in because it's a Pokemon card thing. I will have to, so just so you are aware, as the lights are flickering for some reason. When it comes to this, usually this is kicked off by some really, really big, important set coming out. And in this case, It is a set called Prismatic Evolutions. You've probably heard wind of it. So, Prismatic Evolutions is an all EV set. When it came out for us, and it's one of those like in-between series, like it's not like a full set itself, it's just kind of like an incremental in between the main release sets, which means they will progressively stagger out different releases of this set as the year goes on. For now, though, we've only got a couple of releases in so far, and our first run of this sold out in 18 minutes. And it was really only 18 minutes because I was the only one running a register at the time. Meaning, like, really everything was picked off the shelves in probably about 4 minutes. If we're being honest here, there was nothing left to buy probably around the 4-minute mark. So, with that in mind, yeah, there's more coming, and I'm kind of expecting that kind of like panic rush literally every time. It's probably not going to be the most exciting time for, well, it'll be exciting, but not for like good reasons. But no. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Pokemon, you might ask, okay, I get it, it's Eevee. Everyone loves Eevee and the Evolutions, but why in particular this set going off like this? And that is because of a previous set and this card. This one card alone. This is a VMAX Umbreon. It is the full illustration art version of the card, and this is the pull card from a set called Evolving Skies. Evolving Skies was a set that was just part of the normal Sword and Shield run, part of the Gen 8 Pokemon TCG. Didn't think much of it at the time, but it was gaining hype because it was an all Eevee set and everyone loves the Eevees. But then this card came up. Everyone loves the look of this card. Everyone loves the artwork on it. And then they stopped printing it. Normally, when it's a main set, they produce enough to get by throughout the year. You know, there are sets that you're supposed to be able to order consistently, and they're in production for, a few months, and then it's cut off as new sets come out. But Evolving Skies was a one and done. We never saw a restock on it ever. Anything that we got from it later on was something that was squirreled away. This one card currently sits at $1,600 in value, and that is for ungraded. $1,600 for a piece of cardboard, and this piece of cardboard isn't that old. It really isn't. It's only a few years old. Like, you imagine how much this is going to be worth 10 years from now? It's crazy to think about. It's also crazy to think about that one was pulled from this store, meaning it was just sitting in the packs at my feet all along. I could be sitting on a potential $4,000 graded card right now. No. I didn't think to pick the packs up at the time, so this is on me. I don't buy out of inventory, just to make it clear. I'm joking here. It's all like, I always, like, when it comes to like what I want versus what the store needs, I always put the store first. But because of this Umbreon, the new set, and particularly the new Umbreon, is popping off, and it's already crazy to buy. You had shops around here that at launch were selling it for $120 or $160 a box, which is absolutely disgusting, because here's the secret. They didn't pay more for it than we did. I mean, there is a truth to, like, yes, sometimes when you're buying enough quantity, you do get a better rate on it, but it's marginal, like, yes, a little shop like this doesn't get as good of a deal as like a Walmart or a really major collector shop, but it's not so much of a difference that, it's gonna, that the prices should be different between the two stores, at least not by more than like $5 or $10 at a time. We were charging $60 for a box, because we did have to pay a little bit more to make sure we got our allotment. But I guarantee you, the stores that we were competing with around this area, I promise you, they were charging, they bought it for close to what we bought it for. But they wanted $120 or $150 a box. There is one around town that is currently asking $160 for what they have left. And the trick to that is, yeah, you're going to make your gains early on, but in the long term, it's only going to cost you customers. I had someone in here today that dropped $1,000 on Pokemon because he's not going to support the other store anymore because they're just being too price gougy and they're just being too scummy with it. You know, we are fair, so people come here instead, and that's what we want. We want to be known as the place that's not being like, you know, a jerk with the prices. I would be using a harsher term, but YouTube doesn't like those terms. Point being, it's been messy. This whole situation, this whole set has been messy, and it's really not even just that set. The previous set, Surging Sparks, which is a normal expansion set, has also only had one production run so far, and that was kind of the first set to start taking off in this new boom because the Pikachu card in there was really pretty and really hard to get a hold of. So now everyone wanted the neat Pikachu card. That's kind of what happened during the original boom. One of the first sets to really take off was a set called Vivid Voltage. Vivid Voltage took off because there was a jumbo rainbow Pikachu in that one. And everyone wanted the rainbow Pikachu card. I think at its height, it was like a $400 card. I think now it's dipped to like $150. Because that was a normal release set. They eventually produced enough Vivid Voltage that that card really didn't carry its value anymore. Between you and me, I think Prismatic is going to be that exact same way. They're going to be releasing product for it throughout the year. I know for a fact that like there is a really big box of it coming kind of late into the year with a lot of packs in it. So we definitely have not seen what those cards are really going to be worth. It's a great little hype machine for Nintendo and the TCG because they really needed it. They really needed it. They've been running a bunch of sets based on Scarlet and Violet, and because of the sour reception to Scarlet and Violet, those hadn't been selling very well. That focus on the brand new Pokemon, okay, that's fine for kids who are playing the current game, but it's really always going to be nostalgia that makes things take off, you know? We have, for instance, you know, the Pikachu, which is the super valuable one. And that's true for a lot of the other sets. Because everyone is going after these current sets, Prismatic Evolution, Surging Sparks, and 151 to a degree, you have a lot of people who are trying to undercut that market by going in for other sets that also have really valuable cards, but no one's paying attention to. Paldea Evolved was a set that was pretty much dead on arrival because, again, it focused on the Paldea Pokemon that a lot of collectors genuinely did not care about at the time. But there are still your share of nostalgic cards in there. And for Paldea Evolved, it just sat around collecting dust until this new surge happened. When the new surge took off, Paldea Evolved was one of the old sets that immediately people started going to left and right. And I had to figure out why. What was it in this set that was so freaking important? It's a Magikarp. That's it. It's a Magikarp. It's not any of the new Pokemon. It's not any of the intended stars of the set. It's just this illustration art Magikarp. Because again, nostalgia. And granted, very pretty artwork. It is a very, very nice looking card. But again, it's weird how that works. And I started to see it with other ones. Like I know Twilight Masquerade and Temporal Forces is starting to get some attention again. So, you know, people start, you know, noticing cards they want from those, and then everyone starts wanting those cards. And it leads to interesting situations for us at the store. We had these sitting around for forever, these Annihilate boxes. And the thing about these boxes is they're much smaller than your standard gift box, even though they come with the same amount of promos and the 4 packs that normal gift boxes have. The only difference is it doesn't come with a jumbo promo, which collectors generally don't care about. But beyond that, it's pretty much the exact same style of box. But no one wanted it, and we over-ordered on it. So we had a ton of them sitting in the back. Just like cases of them completely unsold because just no one really cared about it for whatever reason. Do you know what's in this box? One Scarlet and Violet base, which is whatever. We have 2 Paldea Evolved. which is, as we mentioned, the set that is popping off right now. While everyone is paying attention to the big boy sets, this is the one that's kind of like the underdog. This is the one that's like, this is the one that's creeping up in value without, most people even noticing it. And then one set called Lost Origins. Lost Origins is a Sword and Shield set, and it features Giratina, and it's a very valuable Giratina card. That is already a set that is not only out of print, but was also very, very high demand, even when Pokemon was at a lull for the last couple of years. So yeah, a little bit of a gold mine, and most people don't even seem to notice that, which is interesting to me. So those are like little treasure troves now. Like here's a whole box of rare packs that you completely slept on before. Welcome. We are in this crazy loopy world where even the stuff that was like collecting dust for 2 years now all of a sudden might be the most valuable thing in the store. Now, here we get to the lesson on toy value and collector value in general. I often tell people that the big thing with collecting is what makes toys valuable is not the rarity. Rarity certainly plays a part, but really what it comes down to is demand. You could have something where only 10 exist, but if no one wants those 10 things, then you don't have something valuable, do you? No, there has to be demand there in order to make that price be what it is. But what creates demand? So like now we're getting to the very root of what makes something valuable. When you really boil it down, you let everything simmer out and evaporate, what's left at the bottom of the pot? And that is awareness. This dumb phone game, which I'm also playing, which is apparently in 3 months already made like $1 billion. Like it's like crazy successful. But it simulates the TCG, but not really. It's not the same as holding physical cards and the fun of opening up your own packs. It's not, it's only 5 cards in a digital pack, where a normal pack will give you 10. And obviously what you're pulling in these digital packs don't really carry the value of the real world version. But what it's doing is gently scratching the itch. You ever have that like one bug bite that you never notice, you don't notice, and then all of a sudden someone brushes your arm and all of a sudden now it's on fire? It's that. This brushes against the itch to make you realize it's there, and then you do anything you can to scratch it and just get it to stop. And that is what happens with this. People now become aware of their interest in Pokemon again, so when this app dropped, all of the Pokemon that was in stock, like kind of like in the demand at the time, exploded. And we've been dealing with that ever since. I'm looking at the very first time my shop might have to look into sales limits just to make sure we can survive until another set comes out, because we ain't expecting that for almost 2 months. That's a long time to go when it seems like everything's evaporating from the shelves. But it's awareness that really does make it valuable, like people, like that Magikarp was there for 2 years, right? That Magikarp could have been around for 2 years in everybody's collection, but no one was aware that it was rare and valuable at the time. And now because people suddenly know about it, now it's becoming rare. Now it's always rare, but now it's becoming super valuable and super sought after. Where this kind of dials back into collecting in general, I point to the G2 Stunticons. For my Transformer fans, you're very aware of this. For the people who clicked on this because it's a Pokemon TCG video and you want a little bit of education about what's going on in the hobby right now, the equation here is Menasor from Generation 2 Transformers was a canceled set of figures. It was 5 toys that were supposed to come out in the early 90s, but the toy line got canceled. These guys got put on the shelves. That said, the one in the middle, Breakdown, was actually released at the official Transformers convention, one of the first exclusive toys the convention ever offered. And I don't even think it was an official convention at the time. I think it was just sanctioned by Hasbro. Point being, it made people aware that the G2 Stunticons and G2 Menasor actually existed. Meaning this set is the one that people talk about. This is the legendary one that is on the breath of every collector going, oh, I wish I had this. If I have infinite money, this is what I would get. There was another set called the Protectobots. Transformer fans know this. There are such a thing as G2 Protectobots. And because they didn't have one figure semi-mass produced for a convention, that set's actually rarer than the Stunticons. But you don't hear about G2 Defensor nearly as much. You don't see him getting homages. There are 2 modern G2 Menasors. One already done, one that's already half released, and we're waiting for the last 2. You don't get that for Protectobots. You didn't get that in Combiner Wars, and I don't think you'll get it later on. And that simply comes down to not nearly as many people are aware of Defensor. That wasn't the one that took off. The Stunticons took off because that one figure coming out let people know it exists. And because of that awareness, that's where things got really, really big for that set. And it's the same thing that's happened in Pokemon. Happens in other action figures too. Factory errors that are, factory errors are usually considered flawed right out of the pack, right out of the gate. So they don't really carry value. But if it's a common enough, interesting one that starts taking notice around fans, oh, the Mace Windu came with a blue lightsaber instead of a purple. Huh, interesting. That actually does create awareness. That creates demand. That creates value. See how that works? And I can equate it all the way back to the beginnings of Pokemon too. You have error cards out of the original that, are super, super valuable because they're so limited. But in any other collecting sphere, errors like that wouldn't be treated as special because it's a flawed version. It's marred right out of the box, or right out of the pack in this case. So it's interesting. It's interesting to me because, when you really think about it, shelves like this happen because people are suddenly aware of what is going on. As I said, there were valuable cards all along. People just didn't know it. And that knowledge is now making them even more valuable. So there's your lesson on collecting for the day and the situation that my toy shop is currently facing. It's so much fun to panic over my inventory on a weekly basis. But you know what? At least the sales are good right now. And we still have enough to go around for quite a while. So we'll sit back and see what happens. But for now, that is your lesson in the toy market and how TCG shops are doing right now. It's the jungle. Simple as that. It is a jungle out here. Welcome to it. And you know what? That's good for business. Maybe not good for stock inventory. But you know what? We'll deal with that when it comes because that's the toy store life.
You've been waiting a long time, haven't you? But the wait's almost over. You're about to meet the brightest star in the universe. We're going to make an impact.